Quick disclaimer, these discussions are intended for education and informative purposes. They are not to be used as legal advice. You mentioned, listening to podcasts and studying about what you're doing. At some point, you just got to go do it. And it sounds like you've had a good mixture of the study, the preparation, and then just going to pull the trigger and get it done.
I had a friend of mine, we talked about this. Either you can pay, I don't know, $20,000 for a mentor, or you can actually put that money to work and learn yourself.
Welcome to the 256. I'm JD, host of the 256 Investor Podcast. This is for both the seasoned investor building a portfolio of rental properties that wants to sharpen their skills, and for the potential investor that needs to answer some questions and gain strategies to invest with confidence. We'll discuss all things investing, legal, tax planning, acquisitions, insurance, and of course, we'll discuss real-life experiences with 256 investors. Whether you live in the 256 or invest from afar, this is for you. Hi, everybody. We're joined today by my good friend, Wes Mims. Wes, thanks for joining us today on the 256 Investor Podcast.
Thank you, JD. I appreciate it. I'm glad to be here.
It's really good to have you, Wes, with Mims Custom Homes Construction. You are a design builder, if that's the right way to say it today, primarily, but you also have a lengthy career in real estate investing, and would really like to dive deep into everything you've done and what's gotten you to this point. Sure. Are you from the state? Did you grow up here in Alabama?
I did. Actually, I grew up in Chilton County, which is kind of known as the Peach County of Alabama. Yep. And that's where I was born and raised. And I moved up here in Huntsville in 2014.
Okay. Yes, I've been here a little more than 10 years.
Yep.
Did you kind of grow up in the real estate industry, building and things like that? Something you learned from your parents?
No, I did not. I mainly learned construction from my dad. Grew up in that type of trade environment there, and just really did not come to real estate until later on in life.
Okay. Well, so have you been doing construction and building most of your life then, or did you ever have any other kind of career?
Yes. So I graduated from college in 2004. I worked in sales and chemical sales for building materials that way for many years. And then I went into actually just construction itself later on.
Okay. So never been too far from that path.
That's right.
When did you first get started in real estate investing, and what brought you into that?
So the first opportunity I had into real estate investing was we would buy lots and build homes on them, spec homes. That was probably around 2013 era. There was a subdivision that we were eyeballing in Chilton County that had lots available, and it was a good opportunity for us to try to, make some extra money.
Mm-hmm. So it all worked out, and then you kind of went from there. I know you've flipped homes and you've bought and held some. Are you still holding some long-term rentals?
Yes, absolutely. I've got one long-term rental in Auburn, and I'm in a commercial property up in Ohio.
Yeah, and I wanted to get to that because I think you utilize some methods that we've talked about a lot on this show, the 1031 exchange.
Yep.
And I think that's how you acquired the one in Auburn, correct?
It is. So the subdivision that we started building spec homes in Chilton County, we ended up buying that subdivision. It was a foreclosed subdivision, had about 70 or so lots in it for what we call townhomes, and also for like cottages. So there was smaller lots and stuff. And we kept that till right into COVID, and then we sold it to an investing company then. And at that point is when I exercised a 1031 exchange.
Okay. And you bought so you sold some lots more or less to purchase a long-term investment in Auburn, which is a good point to make. That a lot of people, and we've cleared this up several times, that you don't have to sell a house and buy a house. You sell real estate and you can get real estate. And you can sell commercial and you can buy some industrial or some raw land. It's all a like-kind exchange as long as it's real estate.
Absolutely
related.
And we actually bought two properties within that 1031 exchange. That was the commercial investment in Ohio and the residential in Auburn at that time.
Okay. So you weren't living in either of those places. How in the world did you get hooked up with people that you trusted to facilitate these? They're not facilitating the exchange necessarily, but they got to help you identify the properties. And it's a really short window, as you know.
Yeah.
Once you sell something and you're going to exchange it, you have a 45-day window to identify the property. Then you have 180 days to close on on what you identified. So how in the world did you get set up with people in Ohio and in Auburn to do this?
Well, this is pretty unique. I knew what was going to take place when we started to list a property, because I had been at the time listening to other podcasts and reading real estate books, because I was working with a gentleman that was already in real estate. So he kind of turned me on to it more so. And so I had started identifying opportunities to speak with people that I knew in my network that were already in some type of real estate. For example, we did a lot of work with a gentleman in Alabaster who owns the thrift stores in Alabaster. So they own commercial real estate. I reached out to him. I talked to him, and also his some of his family members that's been in this a long time, got their experiences. So I kind of took the approach of, I'll use everything that I know and anybody else I do know, and to try to best make the next step for us. And in that process, I found a actually commercial real estate agent in Birmingham, had a great conversation with him, and he turned me on to a company called Cactus Investments, and they're out of Nashville. And that's how I got connected with the property in Ohio. Okay. So what they do is they actually invest in either dental practices, veterinary clinics, or like these doc in a box type operations. And so it has to do with medical. And at the time I thought, you know what, it's hard for Amazon to supply a dental practice, and that's actually is what we invested in, the real estate for a dental practice in Ohio. So that's the commercial investment. And then I wanted, it didn't take all the money that I needed to exchange, and I was looking for other opportunities. And I took advantage of the townhome in Auburn, being from there and just how much I love the place. I was like, if I can find an opportunity to invest there, I will. I've had connections there and actually completed some work there. I used to live in the Brooks, so I went to school there.
Yeah, so you went to college at Auburn.
Absolutely, yeah. So that's one reason, because everybody says invest in what you know, and that's definitely a pond I know pretty well. And ended up getting connected with a mutual friend of ours there that helped me buy a property. I had already put an opportunity, an offer down on another property that didn't work out. And then I got turned on to our friend Chris, and he really helped me in finding the property I did buy.
Yeah. Well, good deal. So it all worked out within that 45-day window. Had you already identified those properties before you sold the lots in Chilton County?
Yes, I'd already identified the main big commercial property. The second one was the property in Auburn.
Okay, yeah. So rather than paying some boot on the leftover, you went ahead and sunk that into something else in the place in Auburn. And I think it's important to note that you said that it's important to go to places that you know, and you knew the area, and you knew the growth there in Lee County, specifically in Auburn, and that would be a successful investment with the little bit of funds you had left over after the commercial investment.
Yep, absolutely. And I would have just moved all the money into the commercial investment. Actually, my return would have been less, which was kind of odd. And I was like, well, then I just, let's add to this portfolio.
Yeah.
And that's what I was looking at. Let's just, everybody talks about rental property is something great to invest in, a long-term investment. I said, let's try this out. I mean, this is the best opportunity to do it. And so I did. And so far it's worked pretty good. I'm fortunate enough that this particular property is managed by a local real estate agency. Mm-hmm. I did get on the board of the local of the association there, so I do have direct understanding of what's going on, what we're spending our money on, and so that I am protecting my investment that way, even though I'm not, managing the property day to day or month to month.
Right. And that doesn't require too much time, but you're invested enough that all the goings on in the association. And
yeah, absolutely. We meet once a year. I think we've got another meeting just because we were trying to do some capital investments to, like roofs on all the buildings, because that's mutually beneficial to everybody, maintain the beautification of the place, It's more of everybody thinks about Auburn as a college town, but it has a lot of families and a lot of graduate and PhD students that are there. And that's really what this community is geared towards, families and those higher educational seekers there. 'Cause you're not getting the freshmen and sophomores.
Right. Yeah. Well, they have the medicine school, the VCOM
Yep.
school, which has been a big boost for people like me and you we both have rental properties there in Auburn. And I know it's served me well. The VCOM school, veterinary school, and, older professional students has really helped out. People have a different idea usually when they think about a college town, but
They do.
you and I have both had very good success.
Absolutely, I have, and when I think about the freshman sophomore, I think about the cold dorm living situations, and that's always being an opportunity to be around that. I was like, I want to stay away from that as much as possible. A lot of turnover, a lot of investment there. Let's go to the folks that got that out of their system and are really buckling down to trying to focus on their education. So
yeah. Well, have you since bought and held any rental?
No, I have not bought and held any rentals since then. I have completed about 4 fix and flip opportunities, which have turned out to be pretty good. And I've actually completed one. I don't know if you call it hard money loan, but I've done a money investment with another real estate investor friend of mine. So
Yeah. So, is it something you've put behind, or are you still actively looking just for the right opportunities to possibly buy and hold?
Yep, I am looking at the right opportunities. I've recently looked at some property in the Coleman area of what opportunity that might be. I'm constantly listening to other real estate podcasts to keep myself abreast of what's going on, and making sure that when I do have the opportunity to take advantage of something, I feel very confident in doing so.
Yeah, I think it's neat that I think you said you acquired these lots around 2014 in Chilton County that you eventually sold 5.5, 6 years later to get the commercial property in Ohio and the residential rental property in Auburn, because that was still a really good time to buy. I mean, the old, buy low and sell high, it's a pretty simple concept, and there was still a lot of good stuff out there in 2014, 2015. I got up some of my best stuff in 2015, even going into the early part of 2016, because that's really when the market started to change. So, I mean, was that by design, or were you just waiting for the market to pick up? And
Well, I think it may have been by divinity design, because I have just kind of I got lucky, but buying the subdivision was a really big deal to me, and my dad was with me, and it was like I remember when we were on the way to the closing table to sign off on everything, and me and my dad was having a discussion about this. I was like, man, it's a lot, it's. At the time, I don't mind to share numbers if that's okay.
Sure, go for it.
So we bought the lots for $185,000.
yeah,
On a commercial loan. It was a 5-year balloon with a 20-year amortization on it. So it was nothing compared to now.
right.
But
When you've never purchased anything like that, it's the whole world.
oh man, yeah. And we actually did it with zero money down.
Yeah.
And that was kind of crazy, because we'd bought a couple lots in there, building, made a little money that way. And we were probably the last builder that particular, because there's one builder who bought the subdivision. He wasn't making any money out of it, and he was ready to offload it. And it was one of those things that I was able to solve a problem for him. And it really turned out well for me. But at the time, it was such a big deal. But we made it work. It was a situation of building the homes and making sure that we were good on our numbers, and we made it through. And then ultimately, the reason why we chose to exit, because I moved up here. My dad was in a little bit tougher health, and I was like, it's just let's offload this and move it into something else. And it was just right timing. Didn't know it, how good COVID was really when the real estate son. But again, like I didn't know it, when we actually bought it, just how good of a deal we got too. So.
Yeah. I'm assuming you doubled, if not tripled, your return for those lots.
Absolutely. Yeah. Oh man. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we did pretty good. So, I mean, just to share numbers, we, just like the builder did for us, to have money at the table for closing, the next buyer wants us to do the same thing, which is pretty common. And I learned a little bit about due diligence from their side and what that looked like, because we didn't know what that was at the time. And so I think we sold those for around $750,000.
Wow.
Yeah, big difference from what we bought it at.
Well, some old football coach said, luck is when opportunity meets preparation, or when preparation meets opportunity. And we won't say the name of the old football coach who is famous for saying that, but it sounds like you've done your fair amount of homework. And you mentioned, listening to podcasts and studying about what you're doing. At some point, you just got to go do it. And it sounds like you've had a good mixture of the study, the preparation, and then just going to pull the trigger and get it done.
Yeah, absolutely. So I try to lean on, what are my strengths? I know construction. I know what it costs to fix something. What is my weaknesses? So understanding the market, how does buying and selling the real estate works? How does the financing work and all that kind of stuff? So, I would lean on those folks that were more educated than me on those things. But, I had a friend of mine, we talked about this. Either you can pay, I don't know, $20,000 for a mentor, or you can actually put that money to work and learn yourself. And fortunate enough, we were able to put that money to work, and it's been very educational for me to do that. Every flip has been a positive, except for my last one, and my portion of it, I walked away with $4,000.
Yeah.
And, in the black, which is a win given the situation I was at. So, ultimately that was a loss given the time I had in it, but, the amount of experience I got out of that, I'll never forget.
Yeah. I'm sure you learned something that's going to be substantial down the road, but if you want to call that a fail, I wouldn't. You can if you want, but you've had a lot less fails than you've had big wins, and those are going to happen.
Yep. I think about a lot of people just say have base hits. Don't try to go for the home run every time.
Oh yeah.
And that's the way I look at it. And sometimes you do, get that good hit.
Yeah, your home run's going to come when the market changed like it did. You said it was just kind of luck, buying the lots and selling them a few years later. Those are the home runs, where something happens where it's out of our control, or COVID hits, and then the property values just skyrocket, and none of us planned for that. None of us studied and prepared for that to happen, but it just happens, and those are the home runs. But we can't force home runs. We can force base hits and doubles all day long, and those are what really gets you through life. If you're going to be an investor for your life, those are the things you got to do.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I think a friend of mine that's probably completed 75 flips in the last 3 years, he was sharing with me, and he said probably I'll lose on every fourth one I do. And I'm like, I could see that, from me being a builder and a remodeler, every couple of jobs I may miss something and not make the margins or the return I expected, and you learn from those, and you tuck it back in that Filodex you got, and you make sure you accommodate for that next time. Yeah.
I've had deals that I've pitched to investors, to clients, and said, hey, you can profit $10,000 on this, $200,000 purchase. I can guarantee you my numbers are solid, and I'm not going to pitch it unless they are. And say, you'll profit $10,000 after everything. And they'll say, that's not enough for me. I need 20, or I need 30, or I'm not doing it. I go, what in the world is wrong with you?
Yeah.
This is a solid double I'm handing you, and they trust me, but they won't take it. It's not enough for them. And I'm always amazed that people are just waiting for the home run every time, instead of just taking these things that if you do them a few times a year, that's a salary for most people, for most households.
It is. And, I look at, if you brought a deal like that to me, I'd be like, well, how much time do we have in it? And, what is it comparable? Am I trying to compare that to, mutual funds, what the return you get on that? And, that's going to be tied up for a long time to get a decent return there. People say that you should, those are around 10% or so, but that's over the life of the investment. That's not over a year or two, because the market continually go up and down. I have to say that, you have to look at that time value of money and how you want to approach it. But man, just solid base hits, or just, if you do a couple of those a year, that's great.
Oh yeah. Well, we also have vehicles in real estate like the 1031 tax deferred exchange, where you can roll one property into 2 or 3 or 4.
Absolutely.
And you can multiply things so fast, and There's no other way to do that I've discovered. Yeah. Any other anything in finance to get those returns.
Absolutely.
As fast as you can in real estate investing.
Oh yeah, and I just had a friend of mine approach me a little while back about a investment opportunity in a chemical that works in the agricultural sector. And it sounded like a really great opportunity, but I'm going to do what I know. And it's real estate and construction, because I know even if I lose money on that real estate, I got a piece of property.
Yeah.
Depending on what I do, it's sitting right there. It's not something that's just kind of in the air, so to speak, to me.
You're not sinking all your funds into Bitcoin.
No. But those, I guess I've had some positive returns on those. I don't know, but I kind of I do what I know,
Sure.
It's either in real estate or it's in construction. That's me.
Yeah. Well, I'm assuming you have a pretty good network built up. I mean, just the way you went through that 1031 exchange and investing in two totally different markets, I'm assuming you've learned how to build a good network, a good team around you. How often does that change? And is that something you're striving to do every day to make your network a little bit better, a little bit tighter?
Yeah, absolutely. So, you end up, I heard a guy make this analogy, and it works really good. Sometimes you have relationships that are a chapter long or a book long, and I look at every opportunity with that person. What does that relationship look like? And just trying to build from that. I think JD, me and you got connected through Chris, and just maintaining that connection there on occasion, because we're kind of in the same sector, good people. Same thing in construction. I've got some guys that I continue to build a relationship with, that I lean on for advice, for what I do. I definitely don't talk to them about real estate because that's not what they do, but they do one sector of the things that I'm very interested in. So I'm constantly trying to build those relationships and maintain good connections of just reaching out, saying, hello, man, what's up?
Yeah. I think it's important to have a really tight, small circle. Like I've got my lenders, I've got accounting people, I've got legal people that I never really change unless they finally retire and move on or physically move away. Like I retain that team forever. And then there's people like you. I mean, we get together a few times a year, maybe not as much as we should, but we'll get together and chat about things. And there's no expectation of a return or compensation to either side, but it's good to know people like you. It's great for me to know somebody who can do what you can do. Those are things that I can't do. And it's great to maintain those contacts and have that kind of looser team built around your more tight network.
Absolutely. And I appreciate that. It's just from like I utilize a sub model. So I use like a lot of subcontractors. So, there's very few people that I can say I've known them for 10 years that are subcontractors, because sometimes there's things that just don't happen right, or the relationship, they're just kind of parts or whatever the case may be, and so you always want to build good connections, whatever you do. And I mean, what the old saying is, your net worth is a reflection of your network, and that's very much the case, I do believe.
Yeah. Any good habits or advice that you would want to share to somebody who maybe hasn't taken the step to do any real investment? Maybe they studied and everything. What's some maybe off the beaten path advice you might share that they're not going to hear from listening to some of the bigger podcasts that they can find?
Well, one of the things that I did, I didn't mean to, but it come to find out, one of the guys I've built a good relationship with, he fixes and flips a lot. We just spoke a little bit about him, and I gave him a deal that came across my table. It wasn't right for me. And the initial expectation from him is to pay me for it. Usually, they want a little bit of time to say, look, man, not that I don't need the money, but I need the relationship more. If this deal is good for you, go for it. I'll help you in facilitating the connection, whatever the case may be, but be a friend.
Sure.
When I need some advice, because you're in this every day, because I'm not in it every day, he's in it every day. I was like, hey man, answer my phone call. Answer my question. That's all I ask.
Yeah.
And that's really done well for me. So I think I don't always look at that opportunity as a dollar sign, but a long-term relationship, and that'll pay off so much more dividends.
Absolutely. Not everything should come with a price tag.
That's right.
And I've offered to mentor people who are licensed agents who want to learn something new, how to how to flip or how to buy and hold or how to get into the property management business. And I've said, well, come work with me. There's no pay, but you're going to learn lessons in gold. And they've said, no, thanks. I need a dollar figure. And
Oh,
this is
man.
something you can do in your spare time. And it's
Yeah.
just amazing. But likewise, I've help clients find properties, and I'll set them up with contractors, and they say, what's your pay? There's no compensation needed because I gave you the referral of a contractor who also does a lot of work for me. I depend on that person. I want them to continue to work and have multiple avenues to do what they do. So that's my pay, is that they're taken care of, and ultimately I will be taken care of because of that. But I think that's a really good point that not many people are going to make.
Yeah, it's I think it's Zig Ziglar said it. If you have enough people get what they want, you'll get what you want.
There you go.
And I think that's something you really have to live by.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Any dangers, pitfalls, warning signs, things that you've picked up on that?
So the last property that I flipped, even though I am a contractor, I also miss stuff. The number the number I had. We bought it for 70. I thought I'd have 70 in it. Well, I had 130 in it, so I was able to get out of it. It worked out pretty good overall, but it's snowballed from knobbing to wiring to bad flooring to windows and doors and stuff. So, do your due diligence. Do your due diligence.
Due diligence, and I mean, I'm sure you're as good as anybody at that, and there's still ways you're going to miss things.
Absolutely.
And to that, I would add to people who invest not where they are physically. If they're, my company has investors from Denver, San Diego, Nashville, Kansas City, all over the country. We got some people in Japan, Germany, and but they trust us to find them the right properties. And what I always tell people who are looking for somebody to represent them locally is make sure that person knows what to look for. You can buy a home and you can walk through it and see everything looks fine, but what you don't know is what the sewer system's like and the water supply is like. Those are underground.
Yeah.
We can't look at that. You don't know those things until you're living there unless you're really testing them well. So even as good as you are at things, you're going to miss things. Home inspectors are going to miss things.
Yep.
Because again, until you're really spending time in the property, it's just hard to pick up on certain things. But the best you can do is have people that you trust to do their best to discover these things.
I could only assume that when you're working out of state or a place that you can't easily drive to, your network is even more important. And building those trust factors with them. And I don't, they say passive investor. I don't think there's anything really passive. You're always active some way, because you want to be on top of where your money's at and making it grow.
Yeah. Well, tell us about what you're doing right now. I know you're really focusing. You're doing the flips.
Yep.
As the opportunity arises. But
That's right.
other than that, you're doing design build.
Absolutely. So locally, we're labeled as Mims Custom Home Construction. The website is mimscustombuild.com. And ultimately, I'm a custom home builder. I spent the last 4 years with a custom builder and really learned that model very well. Something I really like. And it's because a lot of people don't know about me. I really like getting the weeds of things, from concrete to structural integrity of a building and how you can, how those things are, how the whole envelope of the home itself forms and breathes and all this kind of stuff. But we do from conception to completion, which is we use a design software. We can do a 3D design. We can either addition or remodel do the same thing for you, but you can pick out everything down to your actual plumbing fixtures, like a Moen or a Delta plumbing fixture. And once we have that model completed within the computer, we can make changes pretty quickly when somebody can settle on what they want. And I've found that when you have something visual for somebody to see like that, you have less change orders.
Yeah.
And those are always expensive, and they also cost you more time. And so from either a new home all the way down to just a standard home addition or remodel, we can do that for you. And so that's something I'm really focused on, is building that in this area. Things are going pretty well so far.
Good. What kind of changes have you noticed in the last 5 or 6 years? Pre and post COVID, how have customers' attitudes changed and numbers changed and anything drastic like that?
Man, numbers have really changed. So when we were initially building spec homes in Chilton County, I think we were selling in and around $100 or less per square foot, and a custom home could cost you anywhere from $250 plus per square foot.
Yeah.
Most homes are easily in that $200 range per square foot. And we're not talking about elaborate finishes, just some decent, nice finishes. So that's one big thing. Another big thing is technology. We utilize technology so much, from recording our conversations. So we pick up everything within the conversation, to design, to actual project management. I use a project management software where I can maintain constant communication with my customers, or my clients, and share with them what's going on during the build, and also maintaining budgets and stuff like that and schedules. So it's, building still poses the same challenges as always have, I think, with finding good quality craftsmen. But we have such extensive technology now. You can almost have a camera on site and watch the build in real time, ever how much you want to. So I think that's some of the things that are been very helpful. And for those who utilize it, I think, the customer gets a better experience that way.
Yeah.
So we use that a lot.
Well, sitting here in summer 2025, our market's changed a little bit in North Alabama, like it has nationally, but we're rarely affected like the national averages and like other, big markets in the U.S. are. But what do you see coming? And from your perspective, where's North Alabama right now in our real estate market and our expected growth and just overall things like that?
I think, from my experience and just my opinion, I think we're in a good place. We have such a good infrastructure of jobs with manufacturing and governmental jobs that are just always there.
Right.
We have a continual influx of people every year coming in. It's a great thing about the South that most people are migrating to the South. And, I feel pretty confident about our market that it'll at least stay steady. I'm sure prices will fluctuate some, which they always do. But overall, I think we're in a growth area.
People are coming to the Southeast in general just because of the tax advantages but I mean, income tax, state income tax, and property tax value that are much lower in Alabama and other southeastern states. But we have so much more to offer with our job opportunities than a lot of other places do in the Southeast.
Absolutely. And even with I'm in a contractor coaching group and talking with those guys and their experiences in the markets they're in. So they could be sitting in a population of 100,000 or so people, and we have like 600,000 people within less than an hour of each other, with Madison County being around 400,000, Limestone County being 125, Morgan being 100, my gosh.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people in this area, and you can easily touch a lot of people too.
Yeah. And we hear the name Huntsville in these big national podcasts all the time. There's a reason why.
Yeah. Yeah. And I didn't even know, I was flicking through the channels of the day, as we do, not on our phone, but on the TV. And the OWN channel, there is Housewives of Huntsville or something like that, on the OWN channel. I'm like, wow. I told my wife, I got to check out, see if I can recognize anywhere this place is.
You didn't see me, did you?
Yeah, no, I didn't, unfortunately. But I was like, I was on it about 5 minutes. Like, never mind. Maybe what's on ESPN?
Yeah, we've become a name, and people may not know anything else about us, but they heard us, mentioned in a list of best places to invest in nationally.
Yeah.
And, well, one more question for you. When you were looking to flip, how do you go about that process? Are you just sending out bulk postcards looking for any and all opportunities, or are these things that somebody in your network may bring to you, like you offer to to the other flipper, does somebody bring it to you and say, Wes, this is out of my wheelhouse, but this is something you could probably run with?
Yep, absolutely. So come back to the network there. It's agents I've built a relationship with. So the very first one was a former family member. That was when I exited out of a house that they had purchased. And that was my first opportunity to fix and flip. And that went pretty good. The next two were from a real estate agent friend of mine. And then the next two from that was from a real estate friend of mine as well. And then the buddy of mine that does a lot of flips, he does multiple things of the mailers and stuff. So sometimes he'll have some things that, it's just either he's overwhelmed with what he's got or he just doesn't want to fool with it. It's too far for him. He'll sometimes give me an opportunity or something like that. So it's mainly just, for me, it's been network.
Yeah. Network has provided the majority of your successful flips. It's not cold calling and sending out massive amounts of postcards to fill up people's mailboxes every day. If you're in this business and you work hard at it, these opportunities come along. I think it's important for people to know that, but it takes a daily effort.
Oh, it does. Absolutely. I mean, just like networking groups, whatever those groups are, you got to show up and be present, talk about who you are and how you can help them, and that's where, and then looking at those opportunities that they bring to me and taking advantage of them and know I could. I've learned something from every flip I've been a part of, and it's either been me personally analyzing the property and then getting into it, or, going through the property on the other side and seeing how I come out the other side.
Mm-hmm. And it takes some time. I mean, the conversations you and I are having today are much different than the conversations we would have had 2.5 years ago.
Absolutely.
Because we're both making an effort every day. And we're both growing and in much different positions than we were just a couple of years ago getting lunch together.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, man. I tell you, I was talking to my dad because in construction, one of the things is cash flow, right? Mm-hmm. And I said, I know how fortunate I am now because I was able to see where he came from and how he struggled. And the same thing in real estate, if you've got a W-2 job, you've got an asset right there, because the loans I can't get those,
right?
Because I'm not a W-2 guy no more, and so everybody's got an advantage. They just may not understand what that is.
Yeah, that's a really good point. And I did that for 5 years. I was an accountant before I got into real estate for 5 years, and it stunk. And the pay was really, really low for working 80, 85, 90 hours a week. The pay was really low. At the end of the day, I had a W-2. I got paid every week, and I had something to take to a lender, and I could get a loan. Mm-hmm. It may only be for a $160,000 purchase, but for the $95,000 house I could get and remodel and flip it or hold it forever, I could still pull that off when a lot of people couldn't. So it's good to mention that.
Oh yeah, and from what goes to my mind is your vantage point is like you're really good with numbers. I mean, really good with numbers.
Yeah.
Your accounting guy's got to be. And, for me, my vantage point was construction and just, finding somebody like you to help me with the numbers.
Yeah.
And make sure I was looking at it right.
Well, I'd work as an accountant all day and come home at 8 or 9 o'clock, eat a super late supper, and I'd get to work and I'd lay tile and paint the walls and put in new faucets, but it only got so far. I couldn't do everything. Never learned how to lay carpet. I could never replace a roof or replace windows. You can do all those things. Yeah. But I did what I could with the little bit of money I made and still made it work. So at the end of the day, there's very few excuses.
I agree. Like with the first flip I did, God bless my wife. Once we put my daughter to bed, I was like, okay. The place was pretty close, thank goodness. I was like 10 minutes down the road. I was like, I'm going to do a demo. I'll be back in a couple hours. So I'd come home. She already have all the house stuff done, which was challenging during that time. I did utilize some of my subcontractors, but I was like, I've got to do everything I can do because I wasn't 100% sure I was going to make money on the back end.
Right.
I said, but if I put some sweat equity into it, I know I'm going to at least break even at the end, maybe make a little bit. And it worked out. So, I looked at, you've got to find a way. You've got to find a way. And I think the entrepreneur-minded person is looking at how can find a way, and not just at what, man, I just lost $50 or $1,000. Well, you know what? You just had $1,000 education. That's what you got. Right. Make sure you learned that and hold on to it and use it next time.
Yeah. I learned how to get real good at those things that I could do when I went home at 8, 9 o'clock. Thankfully, I don't do that anymore.
Yeah.
After I eat supper, play with the kids, and I'm going to sleep about 8 o'clock.
Yeah.
So, thankfully, I'm in a different position, but, we all do what we have to do
Absolutely.
with the position that we're in and with what we have. And it doesn't matter how high or low your income is, you can make it work. I'm glad you were able to share those things with us. And
Thank you.
I think you're one of the more patient people I've ever met in this business, and you're one of the most open and willing to share with your network and refer people. And so I really appreciate that.
Thank you. I'm
Wes,
glad I could be of help.
Yeah, thanks for joining us. Again, it's mimscustombuild.com. If you want to find Wes, he'll take care of you. He's as good as a guy as you're hearing today. And I appreciate you coming by, Wes.
Thank you.
All right, thanks everybody for joining us on another edition of the 256 Investor. I'm JD. My time's up. I thank you for yours. This podcast is proudly sponsored by 256 Realty, investors helping investors. Visit us at 256realty.net. Big thanks to our production team at AVO Multimedia Services for producing, editing, and providing the music that brings this podcast to life. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to subscribe or follow the podcast on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, iHeartRadio, or whatever platform you choose. We'd love it if you'd leave a comment, review, and rating. It really helps us grow and continues to bring you valuable content. And of course, don't keep all this knowledge to yourself. Share this episode with a friend who's ready to level up their investment game. To catch more episodes and video content, visit our YouTube channel at 256 Investor.